I really hate spending money, but I do love video games. So as a cheapskate that needs to have their video game addiction fed, let's talk about if Devour is worth throwing cash at. Although I'm late to the party, more and more streamers have been giving this game a shot. Why has this game been garnering so much attention? It's pretty simple. It's a co-op horror game that's easy to run, cheap to buy, and fun to stream. I will keep this review as spoiler-free as possible, but be warned, some details on how the game is structured will be discussed. First off, I do want to discuss some bugs. Male earwigs have two cucumbers. However, they tend to have a favorite cucumber that they use more frequently than the other. Wait, this is the wrong kind of bugs. One sec. We were able to test this game on 3 different machines. One with a 980, one with the 3080 Ti, and one with the 4090. We only encountered one bug on the machine with the 4090 where I fell through the map and had to reload the level. Aside from this, the game ran smoothly. Luckily, the game is also mostly compatible with ultra-wide resolutions. The only issue we saw for alternative resolutions was a bug where the notes scattered across the map were not legible when interacted with. This issue only surfaced for us in 32:9 resolution specifically. The bugs in this game are kind of like your mom's cooking. You find a hair every now and then, but it's just really not worth bringing it up. Let's get into the game structure. It's about as complicated as making toast. You load into a map after watching a short cutscene which sets up the stage. As you explore the relatively small map, you will find some notes that not only provide some lore, but also clue you in on what you should be doing. Eventually, you will come across a possessed entity hidden away in some corner of the map. Their small corner of the map might make you think that they are the ones that are scared of you, but this is kind of like when you confidently walk up to a girl, as soon as she turns around and says hi, you run in the opposite direction because she is way too hot for you. Except in this situation, she is way too ugly. Your job is to avoid ugly possessed entity while completing a task a certain amount of time. The more times you complete this task, the more aggressive the entity will become. I won't give any more detail on the game structure, as part of the fun is to explore the map and slowly figure out what you should be doing. Next up, let's talk about the story. There isn't one. Moving on. Alright, I kinda lied there. There's definitely some lore for each map, but it isn't nearly as interesting as I would want it to be. Don't get me wrong, when it comes to the story, this game definitely beats others in its genre. Games like Phasmophobia, for example, don't even have any cutscene. That being said, the story in Devour is about as satisfying as a nice wet kiss from your grandma. You really don't care for it, but it's just rude to say no. All of the maps are tied together with some overarching lore, but my friends and I did not have any interest in figuring it out. Since this is a horror game, let's talk a little bit about if you should expect your blue jeans to turn brown after playing. The short answer is yes. The long answer is yes, but only during your first playthrough. Let me explain. Since every map has only one main enemy, after the first full playthrough, you will probably just get used to the ugly mug that keeps chasing after you. If you want to re-poopify your pants, just launch up a new map you haven't played yet. Personally, I only pooped my pants one time per map. After that, I got pretty used to it and the jump scares weren't as poo-inducing. The atmosphere on each map ranges from, wow, this is pretty scary, to, okay, I need to make sure every light in the house is on tonight before I go to sleep. Multiply the fear factor by 2 if you are planning on playing alone. When it comes to difficulty, we struggled a good bit, even on normal. During our first playthrough, navigating the maps and trying to figure out what we should be doing was about as difficult as driving a stick shift in rush hour traffic after having practiced for a week in an empty parking lot. It's doable, and your previous experience will help, but you're in for a challenge. As someone with experience in the genre, I was able to map out everything with relative ease, but my friend, who rarely plays these types of games, found herself lost quite often. The maps can be as dark as a 9/11 joke, which doesn't help when you're trying to figure out which room you are in or what floor you are on. The simplistic puzzles are not so simple when you have a raging, crazy lady on your back, ready to devour you. You see what I did there? Yeah? Alright, whatever, let's just move on. Everything I've said so far about difficulty only applies for the first playthrough. The enemy AI is good enough, but not great. Figuring out their patterns is not an impossible task, especially after the initial playthrough. Puzzles are also difficult initially, but later playthroughs will not be as exciting. The knowledge you will gain on each map will make you feel like Einstein on consecutive playthroughs. This lack of replayability makes the difficulty go down about as quickly as I did on your mom. Speaking of replayability, there are a total of 5 maps, and each map is meant to be replayed, as there are decent amount of collectibles that would be quite difficult to find in one run. For the average group of players, I would say there are about 8 hours worth of content. However, if you're a completionist who does not want to look anything up, you can expect that playtime to double. So, as a cheapskate, should you throw your cash at Devour? Absolutely. This game is $5, so why don't you skip the McDonald's Big Mac and play the game? The relatively short experience might put you off, but there is a lot of fun to be had. Plus, it's $5 and even a cheapskate like myself can consider this a good value for my money.